Namaste, yogis. This is a practice for your hips. We're going to start by lying down with the knees bent. So, just a few breaths at the beginning here to establish ourselves in practice. You can rest your hands on your belly and just take a moment to close your eyes and feel yourself in contact with the floor. Feel yourself intentionally shifting your awareness to a mindset of yoga practice, of intentionality, of presence, and of breath. Maybe you can feel the belly rising and falling under your hands. With each passing breath, shifting into a little more softness, a little more stillness. Let's take just three more breaths. So the first movement is a little bit of an odd one. It's an internal rotation of the hip, which is not a movement that we do all that often in yoga. So to get there with your knees bent, you're going to take your right foot wider, maybe even off the edge of your mat. And then your left leg stays where it is, and your right knee is going to tip in down towards the floor. So you can kind of see with my back knee, so it's a little hard to see, but the inner knee tips down toward the floor. I'll just show on my left side so you know what it looks like, but we're going to start on the right leg. Okay, so left leg stays where it is. Right inner knee tips down toward the floor. And the more you bring your right leg to the right, so that means like you could slide your right foot more to the right. The more you take your right leg to the right, the more room it gives you to drop the knee down and to internally rotate more deeply. If you are not used to this type of sensation, it can feel a little bit odd. We do a lot of external rotation in yoga where we take the knee out to the side. And so there aren't a lot of yoga poses that actually do this movement, but we want to be able to move the hip in all the directions. Let's take a few more breaths on this side. Try to soften in, especially if it feels really weird or there's a lot of discomfort. Try to soften in with your breath. Let's switch over to the other side. So carefully bring the right knee back up. Bring it back onto your mat if it's off your mat. And then take your left foot wider to the left and start to tip the left inner knee toward the floor. Again, the more you take your leg to the left, the more room that gives you to drop into. So if you want less, if it's too intense and you need less intensity, take your foot closer to the side of your mat. Return to your breath.
Bottom of your next exhale, return your left knee toward the ceiling and heel toe your left foot back into neutral. Okay, just feel that for a moment. And then we're going to do
The good old fashioned external rotation. So you cross your right ankle over your left knee, tip both knees in towards your chest, the supine figure four. Now, the sort of standard issue clasp is to thread your right hand between your legs, hold behind your thigh, or the front of your across the front of your left shin. If that's not in the cards for you, you could hang on to your foot and your knee with your hands, or you could use a strap. I have a strap around here somewhere. You could use a strap around the back of your thigh if you need to lengthen your arms. So, for about 10 breaths or so, using your arms to pull your right shin in closer to you. And this manifests typically by feeling like the outer right hip and glute is stretching. If you're meeting a lot of resistance in the hip, it helps to lengthen your exhale. So, nice, long, slow exhale can go a long way towards softening into the shape. Let's add on to this sensation a little bit. This seems really simple, but I think that it ends up being quite a bit of additional sensation. So you're going to move your legs like 1 or 2 inches to the left. So you shift toward your left back of your pelvis, and your right foot and your left knee, you're going to move a little bit more to the left. I always say it's like you're trying to stand on a wall on the left side of your mat with your right foot. And then come back to the center so your pelvis is level on the mat. And then you're going to shift your legs a little bit to the right. So now it's like you're trying to put your right knee on a wall on the right side of your mat. Pass through the center, go again to the left. Pass through the center, and go again to the right. All right, return to the center, release the clasp of your hands, uncross your ankle, set both feet on the mat, breathe, pause, feel. And then side two, cross the left ankle over the right knee. Tip your knees in once again. You can thread the left arm between the legs. If that's in the cards, you could just hang on to your knee and your foot. And, a solid 10 breaths or so, depending on the length of your breath, to use your arms and pull your left shin in.
Let's do our shifty work. So sliding the legs to the right, 1 inch, 2 inches, maybe three. Just depends on kind of where you meet the wall of sensation. And then once I get there, I'm just kind of nudging up against that sense of resistance with the breath. So it's not forcing. It's riding right up against the edge. Shift to the left. Find your breath. Maybe you also make some inadvertent noises. Back through the center, slide over to the right. Find your edge, breathe there. And back through the center, and once again to the left. Back in the center, uncross your legs, release your arms. Let's go hands back onto the belly, settle in, feel your breath. From here, we're gonna roll off to the side. Either side's okay. Press yourself up, and we're gonna come onto the knees. And if you have very sensitive knees and you need to pad your knees, you could slide a blanket under your knees. I'll model that just so you can see it. So we're on the shins, high kneeling position. Step your right foot out to the right, and you want to land your knee over your right heel. And I like to check and make sure that my right heel is just about in line with my left knee. And then you're going to lean to the right, slide your right hand down your right shin, and clasp your right inner ankle with your right hand. So this means that my right arm and my right knee are making contact. And I'm going to push my right elbow into the knee. As I push the knee into the elbow, so they're simultaneously lengthening in the inner thigh and a little bit of engagement. Roll your chest to the left. And then if you want to incorporate the left arm is like the cherry on top. So if you wanted to bring the left arm up or overhead, you could certainly add that in. Our focus today is the hip work, but it's always nice to bring in a little side bend or a little shoulder chest opener. This pose is called the Parigasana, the gate pose. One more breath. If you're using the top arm, reach it straight up as you come up and out of the pose. And then we swap over to the other side. So once again, you want to step your left foot out to the left, line up your left heel and your right knee. And then you want your knee to be over your heel. So your left leg does 90 degrees. This is our external rotation that we've already explored in the supine figure four. Okay, we're leaning to the left. Clasp the inner left ankle with your left hand. Take a moment to make sure there's resistance, there's action between the left arm and the left knee. So you push the left arm into the knee, squeeze the knee into the arm, and then use that leverage to help turn your chest more to the right. If you're going there, the right arm can extend up and or over the right ear. How's your breath? Let's exit on the inhale. If you're using your top arm, reach it up. Inhale, pull yourself up and out of the pose. And then let's reposition the blanket if you're using one. So you don't have to use one, but for hip opening, it can be useful to lift the hips up on something just to give yourself a little bit of a head start. So for this setup, let's fold the blanket like so, like a rectangle. And you're going to sit on the corner of the rectangle. So it's like a triangle here. So if you position the point basically to go between your legs, and then step your legs out in front of you. And so the thread of the legs is to slide the left leg under the right leg, and you try to bring your left knee right into the center line of your body. And then you can manually assist to thread the right leg over the left leg. And it's like you're trying to stack up your knees. Now, this is not in the cards for a lot of people. This is, a fairly big hip stretch. So if it's not in the cards, your pose might look something more like this, a wider cross of the legs. Or if that's just like, no way, you can set your right shin in front of your left shin and make a square with your legs. Okay, so you've got some options. So if you're threading the knee on the knee, you can use your hands on the tops of your knees and just kind of gently nudge them a little closer together. And for some of you, this will be like the end of the road. This is all you got, all the juice you've got in the hips, and you just kind of hang out here and breathe. If you feel like you have more space to grow, walk your hands forward and fold into your shape. Wherever you are, whatever your pose looks like, find your breath. Settle in, few more moments here. At the bottom of your next exhale, come up. You can manually assist to undo the cross of the legs. Put your feet out in front of you. And then we reverse the thread. So the right leg goes under first. So it's super useful, I think, to use the hands, use the arm strength to help. We're not wrenching our legs into the pose, but we're just getting a kind of assist to see what you can do to stack the knees. And then your hands can go on the, you know, tops of the knees to give a little extra nudge in. Someday, maybe your knees will stack up right in line with the middle line of your body. Okay, maybe you're here, maybe you are coming more forward. The Gomukhasana, kind of an obtuse translation, the cow face pose. I've never fully understood how it looks like the face of a cow, but here we are. If you're meeting a lot of resistance, really tap into the exhale. So long, deep exhale for softening. Final breath. Bring your torso up if you're folding forward. You can manually assist to undo the legs. And from here, we're going to go into a wide setup with the legs. So you're probably not as wide as you could possibly be, but if you extended your arms out to the sides, your feet are about in line with your ankles, maybe a touch wider than that. Upavishta Konasana. Take your fingertips down by your sides, push down into your fingertips to lift up through your chest. And just like the Gomukhasana, this might be the end of the line for some of you, or with room to grow, you can hinge and fold forward. You can take your arms out in front of you. Potentially, if you have a lot of range of motion, you could go elbows to the floor. One of my personal faves is elbows down. Rest your head in your palms. So there's a little bit of action in the feet. You can push out through your heels and spread your toes a little bit. Few more breaths. Come up. And our last move is to grab from the inner knees. So you'll pull your legs together, soles of the feet together in we call it the Baddha Konasana. You may know it as the butterfly pose. So this wide knee position. And this also, like the previous pose, targets the inner thighs. And it can be an upright movement. It can be a folding forward moment. Home stretch of this practice. Settle into the breath. Last breath. If you're folding forward, walk your hands back, lift your torso up, and then we'll just take the legs into like a comfortable cross-legged seat. Rest your hands on your thighs and close your eyes. And just absorbing all of that hip work into your body and your nervous system. Hopefully, you feel really grounded and calm. If you have time to take a shavasana after this, you could just flip around and lay on your back and rest for a few moments. I'll leave you here with two hands together. Thank you so much for your practice.